Hi, this is Patrick, and I want to tell my story about the Crystal Ganesh. I was staying with my cousin out at Panther Gap, working with him, and he was the one I was talking about that won the lottery in the other video. Um, he had just came back the year before that from the Himalayas. He went out to the Himalayas and then he trekked around Mount Kailash. Um, when he was there, he bought a Crystal Ganesh and it was in a box and it said Magic Ganesh. And I want to make something clear. I don't believe in worshiping any idols. I was just talking to the Crystal Ganesh and it looked just like this. And I actually put a rope on it and I was wearing it around like a necklace. I put a leather rope on it. Well, um, on the box it said Magic Ganesh. So I don't believe in any idols. I believe there's only one God. But I'm like, Magic Ganesh, cool. I'm going to uh, make a wish. And it said Magic Ganesh. Um, and anyone who knows about Ganesh knows that Ganesh is the mover of obstacles. So I get his Magic Ganesh and he lets me use it. I think he left back to the city and I was out at Panther Gap on the river, um, working out there that summer. And I make a wish with the Crystal Ganesh. There was a girl that I had a crush on that didn't even know that I was alive, and she had went to my school, my high school. But I'm wearing the Crystal Ganesh, and I say, um, I wish I could be with that girl, and it's crazy. I think 2 days later, I was up in Eureka and I saw her at a nightclub and we just connected like boom. We were like hooked up and I was hanging out with her for a little bit and I realized after I was with her that I didn't like her as much. I mean, I always liked the way she looked and I thought she was the one. But when you're young, you're kind of like, yeah, you see somebody and you're like, you like someone the way they look and it gets you excited and you're like, you have a crush. And she was a crush. But 2 days later, after not even seeing her, not talking to her, she didn't even know I was live. 2 days later, I ran into her at a nightclub in Eureka and uh, the nightclub used to be called Club West. And I saw her, we saw each other, we just connected, and boom, we went home. I went to her place. Um, but I'm going to get into the story more about her later because the story kind of like overlaps on some of the other stories. But we hooked up and it was cool. But after I hung out with her, I realized I'm like, I don't really have much in common with her. And we just didn't have the chemistry. I mean, she really liked me, but I was like, not feeling it. But, you know, I'm going to get back to the Crystal Ganesh. So at the time, I was going through a uh, uh, cannabis charge, and I was in trouble for growing cannabis down in Santa Cruz. and I won't get into the whole story. I don't want to incriminate myself. Um, but I was in the middle of a court case in Santa Cruz at the time, and it looked like I was going to get in trouble. And I prayed to the Crystal Ganesh, please help clear this up. And next thing you know, I went through the court case like a maze and was untouched, got off the case. And it was a case that it looked like I was going to get in trouble for. And because cannabis was illegal at the time, really illegal. And the Crystal Ganesh was working for me. I was making wishes. And I had made a bunch of other little wishes. And every wish that I made, they were all coming true, like one after another. And I was like, wow, this is kind of like the genie in the lamp, how he Aladdin had the lamp and he rubbed it, and the genie would give him wishes. Well, the Crystal Ganesh was doing the same thing for me. And there was a bunch of things that it kept doing, making come true and making happen. It was moving obstacles. After that, I had made a bunch of wishes with the Crystal Ganesh, and I'll tell more about the some of the wishes later on. But there was one wish that I had made. There was I had ended up not liking that girl, and I ended up meeting another girl, and I'll talk more about her in some of my other stories. And she was a rich girl from down in Santa Clara, and she had been adopted, and her adopted father had passed away, but he had left her a bunch of houses and a bunch of real estate. And I was living with her down in San Jose at her house. And the craziest thing, my cousin Sam from Panther Gap lived like one block over, and she was actually 3 houses away from him. And I had grown up with my family all living right in the same area as her. So it was kind of magical how she lived right there next to my cousin. So later on down the road, the girl calls me up, and me and this other girl have been together for a while, and we're like, we're pretty close. I've been living with her, and yeah, I was in love with her. And all of a sudden, I get a call from the girl that I wished to be with earlier, and she says, I'm pregnant, and I'm pregnant with your babies, and they're twins. And I was like, whoa. She says, I'm going to put them up for adoption, and I want you to sign the papers to let me put them up for adoption. Well, I really believe in kids and raising your kids and never letting anybody take your kids. So I tell her, I want to get the kids and I'll raise them. When they're born, give them to me and I'll raise them. Well, as soon as she realized that I wanted to be in the kid's life, she's like, okay, I'm keeping them. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to see where this goes. Well, the girl that I'm with down in Santa Clara, I won't say her name because I want to protect her, but I have a lot of stories about her that was really like, wow, the magic was like going crazy. She was very magical. She was a from a family in Salem, Oregon, and from a family of witches from her adopted family. So I tell her that girl that I was with before I got with her is claiming she's pregnant with my children, and um, she flips out. She is completely like going crazy, screaming and yelling. I wanted to be the only one to have your children. I wanted to be the first. And I hate that girl. And I hope she passes away. And I hope her baby passes away. And I'm like, wow, watch your words. Your words are powerful. Don't say that. Please don't say that. So I was so in love with her, I got her pregnant. And I think that getting her pregnant is going to help her through this situation. Well, she is going crazy. She's wishing bad on this other girl and her twin babies, and she's doing it over and over again. She's completely like irate over it, going nuts, crying, screaming, yelling, like going through all the emotions. And I get her pregnant, and I think that this will make it better. I'm like, okay, if I get her pregnant, uh, this will smooth everything out. Well, it didn't smooth it out. She was nuts, and she kept cursing these children and cursing this girl. And I said, stop doing that. You're cursing yourself and you're cursing our baby. Don't do that. Well, one day she is sick and not feeling good, and I say, she has a little BMW convertible 325 IS, little rich girl, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go for a ride. I'm going to take you for a ride. So I take her up Highway 17, and then I turn off at Boulder Creek, and I'm going through Boulder Creek the back way towards Santa Cruz. Well, we go over this train track that goes over the road, and it is a train is passing right over the road, and it is a 2-lane road, tight corners. If you've ever been through Boulder Creek where the train tracks go over the road, you know what I'm talking about. But I cross this train trestle and the train track going over the road, and she goes crazy. She says, I saw my future, and this is where I die. And I look at her and I say, what? Because we're crossing underneath this train and this train tracks, and as this train is going over the tracks, and it was one of those old-fashioned trains. People take train rides there. We're in traffic in both directions, and I'm doing 65, 70 miles an hour. I'm speeding. It's a 55, and I'm like speeding, and she has her little 325 IS. I grab the U-brake in traffic, cars behind me, cars coming at me. I grab the U-brake in traffic and whip the car sideways in traffic, and I whip sideways in the opposite direction, and I say, now we're gonna I'm taking you back the other way, and I'm changing your destiny. You're not gonna die. And she is right beside me. She goes unconscious, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. So I pull off the road, the first pull off, and it's right at the train trestle, and the train is pulled up right there in Boulder Creek, and all of these people are getting off the train, and I run around to the other side of the car, and I open up the door, and the pavement is about the same level as her car. So it's like, as soon as I open the door, she falls out on the pavement and she's unconscious. And the people are all about 50 feet away from me, maybe less, probably 40 feet away from me, getting off the train. And nobody even, there's probably like 50 people getting off this train. They just got off the train ride, and no one even acknowledges her, that this girl falls out of a car right in front of them, and um no one even like cares. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, looking back on this, I'm like, wow, that is like the train of like lost souls, because no one even cared. This girl falls out unconscious and she's on the pavement as soon as I open the door, and I put her in the car, and I carry her and put her back in the car, and I call her mom, her stepmom, the one adopted mom that raised her. She's actually remarried with another guy at the time, and um, her father had passed away and left her all of this real estate. But um, I'm doing about 90 miles an hour down this 2-lane road. And some spots hitting 100. I get out onto 17 and I'm flying. I'm doing 100, and I'm calling her mom, and I'm like, "Hey, Peggy went unconscious, and you need to do something, please." And she said, "Bring her down to this hospital, local hospital down in San Jose." And I drive straight to the hospital. I'm doing 100 miles an hour plus, and I fly to that hospital so quick, and I carry her into the hospital. I'm carrying her through the front door, and her mom's right there waiting. And uh, I get out of my when I get out of the car, her mom is right there, and her stepdad's right there, and I go into the hospital carrying her. She's incoherent and out. Um, I bring her to the hospital. I'm sitting outside. I'm freaking out, and I am there for a few hours, and then the doctors come out, and they say it doesn't look good. She had a tubal pregnancy, and she lost 2/3 of her blood. We don't think she's going to make it, and if she does make it, she's going to be brain damaged. Well, I go outside, and I have a Crystal Ganesh with me, and I'm outside praying on the grass in front of the hospital, and I'm like, please, please let Peggy be okay. Please let her be okay. And I say, if you grant this wish, I will never ask you for any more wishes. Please let her be okay. So she's in a coma for a few days, and then the doctors say if she makes it, she's probably going to have brain damage, because losing that much blood, and you flatline, you're most likely going to have brain damage. But she had like died because she lost so much blood, and they brought her back to life. And I did it right in time, driving 100 miles an hour. I got her there within, man, this is an hour drive, and I'm making it in about 25, 30 minutes. A good 45-minute drive with no traffic, but I make it in about 25, 30 minutes. I'm on making record time. So the doctors come out and they say, we don't think she's going to make it. So I'm out there praying, and I pray to the Crystal Ganesh, and I ask for one more wish. I'm like, please, please let her live, and please don't let her have brain damage. And so then I call my cousin, Sam, who lives right across the street from her, 1 block over, and like one house and then 2 houses. She was like the third house on the next street over. Literally 75, 100 feet away from her house was his house. And he's a pretty magical guy, pretty spiritual. I asked him to come over to the hospital and come pray with me. So he comes over, and we're praying for her. And 2 days later, she wakes up out of the coma, and she doesn't have brain damage, but she is completely possessed. It's like something came into her, and I'll tell more stories about this later because she actually had possession before this, and I had gotten rid of the entity that was possessing her. And I'll tell another story about that here in the future. But she ends up living, and we're in the hospital, and I'm watching the TV, and I'm there with my cousin, her stepmom, and the news comes on, and it's like plane crash, 280 people die, and it was like 288 people die, and she just goes laughing, and I'm like, whoa, whoa. I'm like, that's not funny. And she is completely possessed. But um, I'll get into this story more, but it's about the Crystal Ganesh, and this will be the first part to this story, but I'll get into the story. I bought this Crystal Ganesh, and I thought it would work the same, but it didn't have the magic the one had from the Himalayas. The one from the Himalayas um, was very magical. My cousin had got it. He'd been trekking, and he trekked all through the Himalayas and trekked around Mount Kailash, and he bought it there in one of the little villages. But the Ganesh was really magical. I'm going to tell more parts to this story because this story goes on and takes off into a bunch more magic. But I just want to, this is part one. Thank you, and please give me a like, and please um, follow me and check out the rest of the story. God bless.